Our team coverage continues now. Our news team has been in the newsroom all night long following the latest on Superstorm Sandy.
KAKE's Jordan Shefty is live in the KAKE newsroom. Jordan, what can you tell us?
Well, Mike and Jamel, we want to give you an idea of just how extensive the damage from this storm has been. Let's take a look at some numbers. There have been at least 13 deaths reported as a result of Sandy. Also, $3 billion of damage has been caused by wind alone. That does not take into account any other damages like flooding. And at least 6.5 million people are left without power this morning. The storm has swept through much of the East Coast, leaving devastation in its path. Now keep in mind, all of these numbers are subject to change. We will have a better idea of the extent of Sandy as the sun rises this morning. Reporting live in the newsroom, Jordan Shefty, KAKE News.
And Jordan, what's the latest?
Mike and Jamel, Superstorm Sandy swept through the East Coast last night, wreaking havoc in its path. Flooding and high winds caused most of the damage, but a fire in New York also left devastation. At least 50 homes have been destroyed by the 6-alarm fire that blazed overnight. More than 200 New York firefighters responded to that fire in the borough of Queens. Firefighters were able to reach the building by boat, rescue the residents that were trapped in the building. People suffered minor injuries. The fire was spread so quickly with the help of those high winds that went through that area. Reporting live in the newsroom, Jordan Shefty, KAKE News.
Jordan, what's the latest?
Well, Mike and Jamel, Sandy rushed into the East Coast last night with flooding and high winds. The superstorm is being blamed for at least 16 deaths now. Subway tunnels are flooded with no word on when they will be up and running again. Also, millions of people are in the dark this morning as power outages crossed the state. For residents, the reality of the storm is starting to hit.
So far, it has been pretty good. We don't know how long it'll be blacked out and the method of finding out. I'm running out of cell phone batteries.
You would never think this was happening in New York. So the best way to deal with now is just not panic. I mean, the NYPD is doing all they can. They have a lot of patrol cars going on every single block. People just got to stay civil.
Officials are saying that it could take up to a week for that power to be restored. The full extent of the damages will be known as the sun rises this morning. That is supposed to be at about 6:25 Central Time. Reporting live in the newsroom, Jordan Shefty, KAKE News.
Tell us the latest.
Mike and Jamel, Sandy caused flooding and wind damage all along the East Coast, and the impact of the superstorm is even being felt right here in Wichita. More than 10,000 flights have been canceled as a result of Hurricane Sandy. That's according to FlightAware, shutting down commercial air traffic along the East Coast, meaning travelers who had flights going out east are now stranded here at Mid-Continent Airport. Airlines recommend checking your flights before you head to the airport. While you may not have delays here in Wichita, your connecting flights could be affected. Reporting live in the newsroom, Jordan Shefty, KAKE News.
Jordan, what do you know now?
Mike and Jamel, elected officials are reevaluating this morning after some residents on the East Coast chose not to evacuate despite their warnings. Leaders on every level, from the President of the United States to the Governor of New Jersey and the Mayor of New York City, speaking out to try to keep people safe. They all had one message: that this storm did turn out to be the worst case scenario.
This is a serious storm, and it could potentially have fatal consequences if people haven't acted quickly.
This is not a time to be a show-off. This is not a time to be stupid. This is a time to try to save yourself and your family.
And as we've been talking about, the storm having very wide-ranging impact. While the focus is on New York and New Jersey, people in Chicago are expecting high winds and are even under a flood warning.
Waves are bad out there. You from Lakeshore Drive, you don't want to be out there at all. Yeah, I'm not going to be out here. Definitely a lot of these boats are going to probably have damage to them because of the wind. I'm going to have to say the canvas might rip.
Officials are urging people who usually exercise around Lake Michigan to avoid doing so because of flooding concerns. So while people on the East Coast will be assessing damages as they wake up this morning, people farther west and north are still in preparation mode. Reporting in the newsroom, Jordan Shefty, Cake News.
What's the latest, Jordan?
Mike and Jamel, the storm caused power outages across the East Coast, leaving millions in the dark as they wake up this morning. But the lack of power caused the biggest problem for one New York hospital. More than 200 patients had to be moved out after the backup generator failed. Dozens of ambulances up outside to transport to other nearby hospitals. The sickest and youngest were the first to be relocated, including 20 babies from the neonatal intensive care unit. Officials say it could take up to a week before full power is restored. Reporting live in the newsroom, Jordan Shefty, Cake News.
Jordan.
Mike and Jamel, as the city of New York wakes up to billions of dollars of damages, lots of people across the country are focusing on a single crane. Take a look at this. The crane collapsed at a luxury high-rise apartment under construction at about 2:30 yesterday. This is near Carnegie Hall. The area has been evacuated and no one has been hurt. Construction in the city was suspended for the storm, so there were no workers in or around the building when it collapsed. The crane has been swinging in the high winds since it collapsed. No word yet on when it may be fixed. The building will reportedly be the highest residential building in the world when the project is finally completed. Reporting live in the newsroom, Jordan Shefty, Cake News.
Jordan, you have the latest on the numbers right now from the storm?
That's right, Mike and Jamel. We want to give you an idea of just how destructive this storm has been. There have been at least 16 deaths reported as a result of Sandy. Also, $3 billion of damage has been caused by winds alone. That does not take into account any other damages like flooding, and at least 7.4 million people are left without power this morning. The storm has swept through much of the East Coast, leaving devastation in its path. Now keep in mind, all of these numbers are subject to change. We will have a better idea of the extent of Sandy when daylight falls. It's expected to be in just about 10 minutes. The sun is expected to rise, so we'll be keeping a close watch and keep you updated if any new reports come out as the devastation becomes more visible. Reporting live in the newsroom, Jordan Shefty, Cake News.
Jordan, what's the latest?
Mike and Jamel, the sun is rising right now over the East Coast, giving people their first chance to assess damages in the daylight. You're looking at a live video of the city of New York. You can see the sun rising, shining light on the city that was immersed in darkness overnight. This sunrise will provide a chance to get a first look at the destruction. Damage estimates are currently ranging between $35 and $45 billion. Here's a comparison. Hurricane Irene's damage totaled 15 to 20 billion. So this storm looks like it's going to cost double that. Also this morning, we're learning that a levee has broken in New Jersey. Rescue efforts are currently underway. There are reports that people are waiting on their roofs to be rescued. And as you might expect, President Obama has declared disaster areas in New York and New Jersey. If you want to look at this with some silver lining, here's an opportunity. There will possibly be rebuilding efforts, will possibly provide some desperately needed jobs. Reporting live in the newsroom, Jordan Shefty, Cake News.
Jordan.
Mike, one of the major stories this morning, obviously, the millions of people without power. But take a look at this. This is video of a substation at Consolidated Edison. That's the major power company in New York City. You can see it catch fire and then explode. As you can imagine, this is the reason many people are in the dark this morning in the Big Apple. Amazingly, no one was hurt in this explosion. The company is unsure of what caused the explosion, and they say that it could take up to a week to make repairs. Reporting live in the newsroom, Jordan Shefty, Cake News.
Jordan, what do you have now?
Mike and Jamel, the sun is now up over the East Coast, giving people their first glance at the damage in the daylight. Here's the latest. At least 16 U.S. deaths are now being blamed on the superstorm. In New York, subway tunnels are flooded and power is out for millions across the East Coast. And Wall Street stock trading will be closed for a second day today. In the borough of Queens, a fire in a flooded has destroyed at least 50 homes, and in New Jersey, a levee has broken, reportedly leaving people stranded waiting for rescue on their road. Damage estimates of the storm are ranging between $35 and $45 billion. The total amount of destruction will become apparent as the day progresses. Reporting live in the newsroom, Jordan Shefty, Cake News.